Welcome to the Leading Hope Podcast with Kevin Jack. Your influence will lead people somewhere, lead them towards hope. Everyone has 20 minutes to learn to become a better leader. Make it count.
Welcome to Leading Hope with Kevin Jack. I'm your host, VJ Williams, here with my friend and pastor, Kevin Jack. Thank you for joining us and taking time out of your day to become a better leader. We release a new episode every Wednesday, so we'd love for you to share on social media and bring others along with us on this journey of becoming a better leader. Visit leadinghope.online to get updates and find out more about the Leading Hope community. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. Or you haven't subscribed, it would mean the world to us if you did that now. Also, post about it, rate and review. You will not believe how that helps get this podcast in so many more leaders' hands just like you. Thank you for being here today. We are continuing this series on joy. The joy of leading. And today is episode 58. Man, I am excited about this one, even though this title is, I don't know, it's lonely leadership.
Say it again.
Lonely leadership.
Lonely
leaders.
Hey, I like
So
that.
alone.
You should say episode numbers from here on out as the single digits.
You want me to do that?
Yeah, that was good. Episode 58.
5-8. Well, you know what that reminds me of is the kid that's running to first. Hey, good job out there, 1-4.
Oh, that's good.
Good job out
I like
there,
that.
1-4.
Episode 58. Lonely leadership.
So lonely I could cry.
So we've been talking about joy in leadership and finding joy and leading so that others would experience joy and out of joy. And so we're going to start with this idea that joy is communal. Joy is a communal activity, not that you have to be constantly surrounded by people to have joy. I am not saying that. This is not anti-extrovert. This is anti-isolation, okay? It's not saying, oh, I don't want to be around people all the time. No, like celebrations involve people. Take that for your notes. Celebrations involve people. That joy is a communal activity. Joy is heightened when other people are around. And this creates a problem within leadership because the nature of leadership is to become isolated, to be lonely. Here's why. A couple of different reasons at the start. If you're not already bought in, because you may go, oh, I'm not sure. Or my guess is most of you hear that and you go, yep. That's me. The nature of leadership is to become isolated. This comes from the pressure from who you answer to, and the demands of your team is something that only you can experience. The demands from your boss or board or whatever pressure is from above you, and the demands of your team creates this unique thing that no one above you can know exactly what you're experiencing, and no one who you're leading can know exactly what you're experiencing. And so you get isolated, and you may find camaraderie, you may find cooperation or some understanding in those who lead at a similar level that you do, but no one will fully know what you're experiencing because the members of your team, they at least all have that shared input. And so that by nature will isolate. Power dynamics will isolate. Team members either don't want to suck up to the boss and damage a peer-to-peer relationship, or they may just want to suck up to the boss and not be authentic in that relationship. The power dynamics from those you lead will cause you inadvertently to become isolated. There's an expectation at times for leaders to be infallible when their faults stand out greater than the others. The level of authority that you have will amplify your character faults and your natural weaknesses. They will amplify them. And so when you take that idea of going, hey, there's an expectation for my boss to be empathetic, strategic, organized, visionary, enthusiastic, like all those things that no single person can hold together within just one individual, those expectations will amplify those character weaknesses and natural just faults that you have, and that will isolate. Now, couple all that with just this simple fact. you will receive criticism,
Yes.
which has been a recurrent theme within all this podcast of going, hey, if you're going to lead, you're going to get criticized because you're going to move in a direction and some people won't like that direction. So as much time as you spend vision casting and pulling everyone in, you will receive criticism. And if you're not mindful, all of these things coming together will create that you'll be a leader with impact, but without joy. You'll be a leader with influence, with authority, making a difference, but joy is a communal activity. And so you may have impact, but if you have impact and isolation, you will find that you're leading without joy. Now, here's my guess, is as we're talking about this, there are many, many, many people who are in leadership who's going, yeah, that happened. I didn't realize that happened. Like, When I was just coming in, I always had friends and it was more fun, or I always had people close to me and it was more joyful. I loved what I was doing more. And somewhere when I moved up and got promoted and other things happened, I lost that joy. And you're wondering, like, what was it? It is the nature of authority to isolate. It is. And so the response is not to get rid of your authority or to go back down on the org chart where you don't have to face that dynamic of people who are calling for your attention from lower on the org chart and people who are demanding things from upper on the org chart. Upper? Above?
Maybe.
Okay. That's not what we do. There is a response. If you have become isolated as a leader, if you feel lonely in your leadership, the key to joy in leadership is generous leadership. If you are fighting loneliness and you're not feeling joy because of it, the key is to be generous in your leadership. And I've got 3 applications for this. The first one, be generous with your time. Be generous with your time. Now, here's the waiver. Be generous with your time without allowing it to take away from your most important work, okay? There are still things that you have to stay focused on, and your agenda, your calendar should not be just open to absolutely everyone. But you need to be generous with your time. I have always remembered the story of a friend who was a teacher who said, I would walk into my principal's office, and anytime I walked into their office, their desk was stacked with things that they had to do. But as soon as I walked in, they would push those things aside and fully listen to me. And that always made me feel valued, and that always made me feel connected. Be generous with your time. Don't have conversations with people who need to have a conversation with you while you're looking at your phone or computer the entire time. That is what it means to be generous with your time. Here's my application if you need a quick application point. Quit saying you're busy. You're busy. I know you are. We're all busy. But when we constantly respond, how are you? Busy. How you doing? Busy. Like when you do that, you're going to push people away because they won't want to ask anything from you, and you will find yourself isolated over time. Your statement on the number of demands that you have on you, you don't realize is isolating you and causing you to become more lonely. And so if you don't want to be isolated, first off, be generous with your time. Second, be generous with your authority. Be generous with your authority. When you are generous with your authority, when you share authority with your team, when you empower and enable your team to make decisions and to take responsibility in different areas, not only does this develop leaders, not only is this good leadership at the core, this breaks down the power dynamic. This breaks down that power dynamic of people either sucking up to you or brown-nosing you and reducing the authenticity of the relationship because all of a sudden that authority is shared. Now, you're not abdicating responsibility. You're still responsible. You're simply sharing authority. This is better for people's development, and it's better for your joy. Be generous with your authority. Let people into the conversation of the direction that you're headed and make decisions as they are able to. Third application, be generous with information. And VJ, here's my self-disclosure. This is the one that I'm the worst at.
Ooh.
Oh my goodness, yes. Because oh my goodness, once I've told a story, I don't want to tell it again. And I know that may sound like odd, but you go like, I only want to say things once. I don't want to have to keep repeating things. And it's a fault of mine at times, and it's something that I've got to get better at. But to be generous with information. Now, here the disclaimers on confidentiality. Obviously, there are some things that you cannot share and should not share, or you will get in legal trouble, or you will break down all trust. So I'm not going to comment on that. I trust that you know the difference. But the information, be generous with the information of what you're facing, what the struggles are, what you're thinking, okay? Let your team into the awareness of going, hey, these are the demands that are upon me. Not a pity party, not guys, my position is just so hard, you don't even know. Just go, hey, as a whole, this is what we're looking at. This is what we're facing. This is what we're going through. This is what I'm processing in my head. These are the competing values that are at stake. Now, this takes time. This takes energy. But this allows your team or even your boss to enter into your world and your thoughts, and it reduces the expectation that leaders are infallible because they know the complex dynamics that are going on. It is being open in your leadership, not open to a fault, but open in your leadership in what you're facing. And I want you to see this. You can lead, you can grow, you can increase your impact and your reputation without realizing that you're becoming isolated by your position and power. You want to lead with joy. Why else would you be doing it? And if you're going to lead with joy and not become lonely and isolated, the response is you must be generous with your leadership.
Lonely leadership.
Lonely leadership.
Hey, before I ask you a question, tell me more about what the difference between anti-extrovert and anti-isolation is.
Anti-extrovert and talk more.
Yeah, you just said, hey, this is not.
It's not anti-extrovert,
right? Yeah. So, is there a such thing as anti-extrovert? I need to know more about that.
Or did I say? I didn't mean to say anti-extrovert. If I meant anything, I meant it's not anti-introvert.
Oh. I wanted to hear more about anti-extrovert. I might be, that would have been an interest. Maybe that's a podcast idea. I want to know more about that.
I don't want people to think when we say joy is communal, for someone to go, well, I'm an extreme introvert.
Yep.
It doesn't exclude you. It's just the acknowledgement that joy for the history of humankind has been a communal activity.
Absolutely. And that's the other side of it, is the personality that goes with that. But we can go do that later. The one thing that I think you said that's interesting, you said that generous with information is your hardest.
Yeah.
And then we're sitting here doing podcasts every week.
Well, this is my way of counteracting it and fighting it.
Okay. So once you talk about lonely leadership, you're done with it. You don't ever want to talk about it again. Is that what you're saying?
No, I have to, when someone asks me a question on something that I've already addressed with a different group of people, I have to push myself to be fully forthright with my answers.
I got you.
I don't delight in sharing things multiple times.
Yeah.
So I would say it is like, I am naturally generous with my authority.
Yeah.
That's not hard for me.
I agree.
I have to push myself a little bit to be generous with my time.
Yeah.
Because I've got a long list of stuff, but it's not that hard.
Yeah.
To be
You're
generous.
busy.
I would never say that. Well, I am. But to be generous with information is a far more of a fight for me.
Yeah, yeah. The busy one, that got me when you talked about that, because I will say that a lot.
Oh, I wrote it with you in mind.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I'm just kidding.
No, which is accurate. Which is good. I mean, I would have said that. Like when you said that, I can see how many times and I don't think I'm doing this on purpose. I don't.
Okay.
But there are certain groups of people I will tell I'm busy more than other groups of people. Not on purpose. But that I have given my time to different groups of people for different purposes.
Yeah.
Is that bad?
My guess is that you do it because you feel like they're not as good of stewards with their time, so you don't want them to run their same time-wasting techniques into your world.
That would be an accurate thing. So what do I need to do to make sure that I'm using that excuse? Because that's really what we're saying when we're saying busy, is I don't have time for this particular scenario.
Oh, let me coach you a bit. I think the response is to be generous with information.
I'm coachable.
Yeah, I know you are. Is when they come in, is to say, hey, you guys just need to know. And there's a difference because busy is, I don't know, what's a word that we can use that's appropriate? Busy is, let me slam the door in your face.
Okay.
But to be generous with information is, hey, can you help with this? It's to compassionately go, hey, you guys just need to know I've got these big chunks on my plate.
Yeah.
And so I only have a little bit of time to give to this.
Yeah.
But I can give it to this if you do these things.
Yeah, that's good. And just to be clear, I'm not, like, if people come into my office, wherever, I'm not going, I'm busy. I mean, I'm not throwing hands up saying I'm busy. What I'll do is say, sure, I'll look into that, or I'll help you in just a few minutes. I've got these, and so I'll give them a laundry list of things I'm already doing, which is saying, I'm busy.
Well, the dynamic that it plays out more than anything else that is just common in our culture is you see someone walking down the road doing something else, and someone wants to open to relationship, and so they'll say, how are you doing?
Yes.
That is an invitation to relationship.
Yeah.
And the person who has become isolated, who needs connection because joy is communal, will respond, I'm busy, which in essence says, I really don't have time for you.
That's good.
And so you go, why did I get isolated? You created that by your answers.
That's exactly right. That's a good explanation to that. What else?
That was fun.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that.
No, that's
that
good.
was good.
No, it's very good. The other thing that you had said during your introduction piece was no one can fully know what you as a leader is experiencing.
Yeah.
Which is true, but doesn't it also not give that person the ability to feel what you're feeling, to know what do you do to guard against that, or to help provide them insight without all the things that you can't tell them because of the level of leadership?
So let's be, I think no one knows exactly what I'm facing. What I wanted to get across in that is the narrative we tell ourselves.
Okay.
That's not the truth.
Yeah.
No one knows the exact specific dynamics of the work that you're facing. Correct. But that doesn't mean that others aren't facing similar things and similar dynamics. Like, no one else right now knows what it's like to be the pastor at Be Hope Church.
Right.
But I find great connection in other pastors in the community that I have found, and other people who are leading, who share very similar dynamics. And so when I become isolated, it's because I'm telling myself, no one else feels what I'm feeling and has to deal with what I'm dealing with. My team doesn't get it. Our leadership team doesn't get it. The people in the church don't get it. And that's a false narrative. You tell yourself that, but there is a smidge of truth to that overtakes the reality that there is still connection. There is still encouragement from like-minded people.
So let's play Dr. Diagnosis here.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
Yeah, I like all these little scenarios. So here it is. Dr. Jack comes in, and I've got the early on.
Wait, am I Dr. Jack?
You are Dr. Jack.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm not a doctor.
No, you just play one on a podcast.
There we go.
And here we go. Dr. Jack, I have an early onset of isolation as a leader.
Ooh.
Early onset. It's the beginning of isolation. I'm not full on blown. I'm isolated from everyone that I'm leading. I've got early onset isolation disease. What do I need to do immediately to recognize it and turn that baby around?
Well, first, I would say that we're going to need to get you COVID tested because I don't think that's a symptom, but everything right now is COVID. So we're going to have to make that.
Oh, that's fabulous.
That should probably be edited out.
Not editing it.
Oh, you're noticing that you're becoming
Early
isolated.
onset isolation.
Yeah, I would be generous with my time.
Okay.
I think the time is the great gatekeeper for our values as individuals. Like it is.
Gatekeeper.
It is the resource that is limited for everyone. And your money may feel more limited, but I assure you, your time is more limited.
Yeah.
And by making, and so here's, if I can say, this is how I do it, is I'm only in the office 2 days a week of our work days. I'm only in there because I work much better when I've got set aside time to work on large projects, writing, other stuff like that. And when I'm in the office, I don't have a to-do list. And that felt awful at first. It did.
Yeah.
Because I went, I've got to. Now, here's the deal. If you're in the office every day, you have to have a to-do list, okay?
Yeah.
Like, you should not run that way. But I just had to acknowledge, when I'm in the office, I am there to be relationally and informationally available to our team and all those who are there. And so sometimes people laugh. They go, when you're in the office, you create chaos. And I have to go, good chaos, like, right?
Yeah.
Good chaos, but it's my way of being generous with my time, so I'm approachable and I'm available. And I think that's the place to start.
I love that. I love that note. I'm going to write that down, and I encourage everybody else too. Time is the great gatekeeper of relationships. If you want to be a generous leader, start there.
Yeah. What do you value in life? Just look at their time. Doesn't matter what someone says. Look at their time. It's what they value.
That's good. We are out of time. What do you want someone to leave with? That was funny.
That was great. Don't get isolated.
Yeah.
Don't get isolated. If you're lonely, I'm not saying you're like, joy can be there when you're alone, but not when you're lonely. And so if you're finding yourself becoming lonely, take proactive steps to counteract that, because there is no joy in loneliness, and you can shape that. You have control over that.
Episode 58, Lonely Leadership, comes to a close. Thank you guys so much for joining us. If you're new to the podcast or haven't yet subscribed, it would mean the world to us if you did that right now. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and hit subscribe in there. Leave us a comment as well. I'd like to get people to watch on YouTube more often. It's fun to hear you guys interact with that. And it's cool to hear your stories as well. If you have a story in your life or business, visit leadinghope.online and send that to us. We'd love to hear from you. And remember, everyone has 20 minutes to learn to become a better leader. Make it count.